It's time for GM crops, advisor tells David Cameron. Genetically modified crops should be more nutritious than natural produce, the government's chief scientific advisor has told the Prime Minister. Sir Mark Walport has written to David Cameron recommending that farmers should start to plant GM crops. There is no scientific evidence to suggest that such crops are dangerous to humans or the environment, he says. They could even be more beneficial to health, he argues. Scientists could add nutrients to the genetic makeup of plants. Now, Sir Mark Walport is not the only one calling for GMO crops to be grown in the UK. The Environment Secretary, Owen Paterson, also says there is no danger with GMO crops. GM health fears, complete nonsense, says Owen Paterson. Concerns about the health implications of genetically modified crops are a complete nonsense, according to the Environment Secretary, who said Britain should be emphatically looking at their cultivation. Owen Paterson, whose brief includes food and rural affairs, also said he was confident that the Prime Minister would find an appropriate moment in future to back GM food and that it would be a question of persuading the public. Emphatically, we should be looking at GM. I'm very clear it would be a good thing, he told the Daily Telegraph in an interview. The trouble is, all this stuff about Frankenstein foods and putting poisons in foods, there are real benefits, and what you've got to do is sell the real environmental benefits. Well, both of these people are talking complete and utter bullshit. And what makes it worse is that they can both probably read, so I can only assume that they are misleading the public on purpose. The study Sir Mark Walport cites in his ludicrous statement that GMO foods are safe and may in fact be more beneficial to human health than naturally grown produce came from a report where all 5 authors of that report had links to the genetically modified organisms industry. Surprise, surprise. The esteemed piece of shit, Sir Mark Walport, didn't mention this in his letter to David Cameron, did he? His claims are so one-sided that it simply is ridiculous. So we're going to put a load of pesticides into your food that kill bugs stone dead, but they're really, really healthy for humans. Honest. In fact, they're even better for you than organically grown food. Come on, people, believe in us. I've got a lot of money to make on the back of this. I'm banking on your ignorance. That's what Sir Mark Walport is thinking. You see how this works? You trust certain media outlets. So when they're telling you, look into my eyes, trust me, you trust them, safe in the knowledge that they are right, when they aren't. This is why you have to be paying attention and stop playing on the Xbox and stop tweeting when you're having a cup of tea and research things for yourself. The studies that the food administrations worldwide draw from to authorise frankenfoods into the human food chain are the same studies that have made Sir Mark Walport look like a completely ill-informed muppet. GMO studies are carried out by scientists that are sponsored by Monsanto. The studies they produce run like this. They tend to run a study for 6 to 8 weeks, feeding rats GMO food. Once this study is complete, they write a really long report on it, stating that there was no health concerns reported whatsoever. They then circulate this report far and wide for all and sundry to report that there's no health harm in eating GMO food. These are also the reports that Owen, just look at my shiny silver locks, Paterson reads. Because Monsanto are the most evil company on the planet, they do more damage to the environment than any other company, I would suggest. They closely monitor these studies and rarely allow anybody else, other than their bought and paid for scientists, to actually undertake these studies so that they can control the results. And these results are always in the support of more GMO food. I wonder why that is. However, a peer-reviewed French study reported in September last year that rats fed the best-selling GMO food over a period of their whole lives, approximately 2 years, had a different story to tell. Here's a quote from the article. Rats fed a lifelong diet of one of the best-selling strains of genetically modified corn suffered tumours and multiple organ damage, according to a controversial French study published today. Scientists said the results raised serious questions about the safety of GM foods and the assurances offered by biotech companies and governments, in brackets, Monsanto. The first lifetime trials involving rats fed on GM corn found a raised incidence of breast tumours, liver and kidney damages. This is the first trial that fed rats GMO corn for the whole of their lives. Have a look at these pictures. This could be you after a couple of years of eating this toxic shit. Obviously you aren't that small and you don't have a long thin tail. Well, you might have. Anyway, the article goes on. Dr. Michael Antoniou, a molecule biologist at King's College London and an expert on GM food, said it shows an extraordinary number of tumours developing early and more aggressively, particularly in female animals. I am shocked by the extreme negative health impacts. The research was carried out at Caen University in France and has been peer-reviewed by independent scientists to guarantee the experiments were properly conducted and the results were valid. Monsanto have tried to push back about this report, saying that the rats were the wrong rats and the crop was the wrong colour, it didn't have any human teeth in it, and that the study didn't have a Twitter account, so it can't possibly be real. Something like that, anyway. But the point I'm making here is that when people like Sir Mark Walport, who is a sir, he's a sir, you wouldn't have thought he'd be so stupid, but he clearly is. But when people like him and Owen, I'm a ladies' man, Paterson, come out with these bold, dramatic statements that GMO foods are even better for you than organic foods, or as good as, please, for God's sake, do some research for the sake of your own children and yourself's health. Why do you think people in America are so fat and so ill? Do you remember this article from a few weeks ago? Worldwide cancer cases expected to soar by 70% in the next 20 years. Now, companies like Monsanto don't want you to know the real issues behind GMO food. They just want you bathing in it, literally. They could be more nutritious than natural produce. They really think you are utterly stupid. They can only get away with this because we are asleep. Wake up, otherwise some GMO food somewhere might just kill you in the near future.